It's Natalina here with Natalina's Kitchen, Italian cooking school. And as we're all self-isolating, you know, in different corners of the world, I thought, what can I do? I can't teach any in-person classes. I certainly can't bring in groups to Italy. So basically, we decided that we would maybe help those of you out that are at home, get your mind off of things and make some great homemade food with your family. This pasta is a great recipe that you can do with your family, spouse, friends. Especially the children. Younger children love to do this. So I really hope you enjoy our time today doing this. So for those of you that are new, so I've had the cooking school for 11 years. I've been taking groups to Italy since 2015, and I have a cookbook as well as the online school. So we'll tell you a little bit about those products as we go. So first off, I've got my eldest son, Alex, with me. Alex has zero pasta making experience, okay? So we're just gonna qualify that right now. But that actually works because I've encouraged him to ask any questions that he has, because if we have any new pasta makers watching, you're probably going to think of the same questions that Alex will, okay? Number two son, we have Michael. Michael has made some pasta. He actually participated in a video with me a couple years ago as well.
Good to be back.
Yeah. And so Michael has a moderate amount of pasta making experience. So we might expect some questions from him. But again, I've encouraged them all to ask questions. So hopefully we can answer your questions at home. Now, number three son, Stefano, is on camera. So maybe you could nod up and down. That means hello from Stefano. So we're really happy that he's our tech guy today. And then last but not least, yes, I do have a daughter. And some of you have met Laura here in the school. Laura helps me in the school washing dishes, as well as she's helped me with a number of parent and children cooking classes, as well as our kids camp that's coming up this summer. We're just getting ready to post that information. So Laura is our most experienced pasta making student here today, and she's very proud of it, as you can see. So we won't probably get as many questions from her, okay? And then of course, I've been making pasta a long time. So, but you know what? Any question is good, so we'll try and make this as simple as possible. You know, the last couple times I've been to the grocery store, the pasta aisle has been really picked over. There hasn't been a lot there to choose. So I thought, you know what? Pasta is something that anybody can make. Very simple ingredients that I'm sure you all have in your pantry. And so it's a great time to kind of master this. And if you enjoy it, it's a real treat, okay? So let me go over the ingredients with you first. I did actually write out the recipe. So maybe if Steph wants to zoom in on that, maybe just for a minute. Okay, so we have got per large egg. So if you don't have large eggs, that's fine. We'll just make up the difference for the liquid, okay? But this recipe is per large egg. We need 1 cup of flour. And for today, we're just gonna use all-purpose flour. I don't want you to worry about any special ingredients. We should all have all-purpose flour, okay? Then half a teaspoon of salt, a half a tablespoon of olive oil. If you don't have olive oil though, please just use any vegetable oil with no flavoring. And if you don't have that, then just omit it and it'll be perfectly fine, okay? And then the last is 2 tablespoons of water or more, because I am going to be adapting the recipe a little bit today. I'm actually gonna ad-lib a little bit because in the school we always use a pasta machine to make this pasta. So I use either my attachment on my KitchenAid or I use the manual machine, which we are gonna use here today. But I know that a lot of you don't have a pasta machine. So what I'm gonna do is my batch, I'm going to make a little bit softer. I'm gonna add a little bit more water. So those of you that don't have a pasta machine, I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing, okay? And I'll describe as best as possible the consistency I'm looking for. And the reason is I need it to be a little bit softer because I'm gonna be rolling it with a rolling pin, and I'm gonna show you how to simply cut that into noodles, okay? And then each of the 3 kids, I'm gonna have them make it the regular way I normally do, which is a little firmer, and we're gonna have them run it through the pasta machine, and we're gonna make fettuccine with that. Now, if you're interested, I do have a pasta machine on my website that will be delivered within a couple of business days, and it's delivered anywhere in Canada and the US. Shipping is absolutely free, okay? So if that's something you're interested, you know, you can go ahead and find it there, but it's not necessary. I don't want you to feel like you need to have that, okay? So let's get started. Everybody's got their flour in front of them. So the 3 kids each have 1 cup of flour, 1 egg. I have double that, okay? Because we're actually gonna consume this with my family tonight. So I'm actually gonna double the recipe. And actually, let me address that just quickly. maybe you guys can take out your eggs and make a well in the middle while I talk about portion size, well, how much this actually makes, because that's really important, okay?
Okay, what is a well?
A well? So a well is a very large space in the middle. Are you serious? You really don't know what a well is?
In this sense.
Oh, in this sense? Okay,
Yeah.
so look at mine, Alex. And I want to fit a softball in there. I'm talking your
I thought this was
language.
a safe learning space. Don't condescend me, Mom.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I said any question was fine. Okay, so you know what a softball is. So you know that.
I know what yeah.
Okay, so I want to see the wood table and I want it to fit in.
Okay.
But let me just, before we go any further, I want to address the portion size. Okay, so if you're making 1 cup of flour to 1 large egg, that small recipe, that is only going to make 2 tiny first course portions as per, the Italian multi-course lunch, okay? So 1 egg and 1 cup of flour, that's a lot of pasta for 1 person, but this does freeze very well before you cook it. So I'm going to describe that to you, okay? So just getting back to that point, I'm doing a double batch here. Each of the kids is doing a single. So all in all, we're going to be doing 5 eggs worth of pasta, which should be plenty to feed our family of 6 tonight, okay? So you need to determine how much pasta you need, and you need to multiply that small recipe accordingly. Whenever I teach in class, I have everyone make their small batch just so they can actually experience the process themselves, because I don't believe that you can learn something unless you actually do it hands-on, okay? So everybody's got their well. That's awesome.
Please vote in the comments who has the best.
Oh, yeah.
My well looks pretty good.
Okay, Steph, give a shot. You guys can vote while we're talking.
You have to take into account this is my first ever well, and I just got the definition like a minute ago.
Oh, that's true, but that's pretty darn good for your first well. I like how the sides are really high, so your egg doesn't come out.
Exactly.
My sides are high too,
I
and
didn't even
mine's more
know that the egg
circular.
had to go in there. It was just
Yeah.
my natural intuition.
Do you see what I have to put up? Competition. They're all athletes, so this is all going to be a competition. So, okay.
I have a question, actually.
do you? Okay.
When we make the noodles,
Yep.
how do I avoid eating my own and eating yours?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Is
We're
there-
gonna cook them all together, so we're not gonna know whose are whose. So you're gonna get a little bit of yours and a little bit of mine, Alex. Okay, let's break our eggs and into the well. Okay, so we've got our eggs in there. To that, we're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and this is just regular run-of-the-mill table salt. Nothing special. Here, Michael, I'll help you out.
Thank you.
So I'm doubling, so I'm going to need 2. You're welcome. Is that cheating because I helped him, Alex? The competition, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine.
There's an asterisk beside it.
There's a huge asterisk.
Okay. So we've got our salt. Okay, next, well, we'll wait for the new guy to catch up.
I don't know how to pour salt. I'm sorry.
No, you did just well. You did just fine. Okay, so next up, 1/2 tablespoon per egg and per cup of flour. So I'm doubling. I'm going to add a full tablespoon. The kids are just going to add a 1/2. Now, I don't have a 1/2 tablespoon measure, so you can just eyeball a 1/2 there, Mike.
Or you can do
Pressure, right?
Or you can do 1.5 teaspoons.
Yeah, or Laura, why don't you do a full one and just share it with Alex?
Look at
'cause
how
he needs
close he
help.
gets to the olive oil.
I'm just gonna do 1.5.
That's nice.
teaspoons.
Very well done. Okay. Yeah, so
I'm just gonna do 1.5 teaspoons.
Okay, so she's the perfectionist. She's going to do 1.5 teaspoons, which is equivalent to 1/2 tablespoon. She is the mathematician / scientist of the group.
Burn.
I guess.
Well, actually, we have 2 scientists here. Alex would qualify as a scientist as well.
Thank you. I'm gonna
Eyeball the 1/2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm already trusting my intuition.
Are you? Okay. You can do it, Alex.
Well,
You got
I mean,
this.
With the circumference of the diameter, I mean, that seems about right.
So glad you wore your hat today, too. Keep
It's my
those-
hairnet.
I know, to keep those hair. I know Laura and I have ours tied back, but what about him? What about him?
It just throws me under the bus.
Oh, okay, we don't want to eat
I
any of
know,
yours, Mike, because we
that's
might
fine.
find hair in there.
Separate batch.
Separate batch? Okay. Now, remember, my dough, I want to make a little softer because I'm going to roll with a rolling pin. Okay, so normally we're saying about 2 tablespoons of water. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water per batch. So that'll be 4 tablespoons of water. And then I'm going to add, actually, I'm going to add 2 more. I'm going to add 1 more per batch just to make a much softer dough, okay? Don't be tempted to do that though if you're going to be using machine. So Mike, I want you to do that too. Because you don't want it to stick when it's going through the machine. I can control a little bit more when I'm rolling it by hand because I'm going to dust some flour on if it is a little sticky. And like I said, I'm ad-libbing this today. I've never rolled this particular type of pasta with eggs by hand, but I'm willing to take one for the team here and kind of do it for you today, just so you have some ideas of how you can do it.
It's all about trying new things today.
Trying new things. Actually, nowadays, we're all trying new things, aren't we? Okay, guys and girls, let's grab our forks, and we're going to beat this up.
Okay.
So that's why you have to build the walls high.
That's why you have to build. And look, mine's even
Oh boy.
coming out. No pressure. No pressure.
So I'm just beating the egg. I'm not mixing in the wall.
Don't add it.
No. Just beat the eggs for now. Beat the eggs,
It's fine.
the salts, the water, the olive oil.
Look at
Not
this
even looking.
perfect well.
Not looking.
Dang.
Michael, how's your well holding up?
Michael's is
You're
holding
getting a
fine.
little close to the edge.
I had a little crack in it, but that's okay.
Okay.
Amateur.
You know that if anybody's breaks, they're never going to hear the end of it. And actually, mine even might break, so I better be careful. What you can do is, if it starts to
Student
break,
surpasses the master.
well, I've added more water than what I normally do, and mine is bigger than yours. So see what I'm doing? If that happens, just make your well carefully bigger. Okay, you too, guys. Alex, how are you doing? Oh, Alex, yours looks like it might go in that one side.
Whoa.
Mine's perfect.
Okay, of course yours is perfect. Laura, we wouldn't expect anything less.
Hey, considering I didn't even know what pasta was before this.
He's lying. Okay, so as you're beating up, you're gonna slowly add some of the flour, okay?
So is it like a flick?
Yeah, you can flick some or you could pull some from the outside
pull it
even.
And
Okay. Once it gets thick enough that you're not worried about it kind of caving in on you, then all systems are go and you can mix in all the flour. Okay. So those of you doing this at home, you'll notice we're doing it right on the table. I like to do it on a wooden table, but not everybody has a wooden table. You could do it on a cutting board. You could do it in a cookie sheet. You could even do it in a bowl, really, technically. But if you want to, do it the traditional way like this, then you could just put it on a cookie sheet and just do it in there. Your cleanup would be much easier, keeping it all contained. Of course, you can do this in a stand mixer if you have a dough hook on your stand mixer, or you could do it even in a food processor. But we're gonna take it right back to basics here, assuming that some of you may have very minimal equipment, and we're gonna show you that you can still do it. You can still make some great homemade pasta. Okay, so see what I'm doing now? I'm incorporating it. How are you guys doing?
Do you think this is a decent consistency to
As long as
Keep
a little
going.
too thin,
Add
Alex.
more.
Add more flour. You want to do it till there's no chance of it kind of taking off and flowing away on you.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mom, so I have some very eclectic, pompous friends who like flavored
Pasta?
and colored pasta.
Oh,
When
okay.
would I?
Yep. When would you
If
do
I was
that?
entertaining
Yeah.
and I wanted to impress.
He's gone from never making pasta, and now he's making pasta for entertaining. Alex!
If I was entertaining and I wanted to impress, how would I make this? I would make the dough first. And
Depends
then
what
add
you
the-
want to do. Depends what you want to do.
What's
Like if you were adding...
squid ink?
Oh, squid ink? Squid ink. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You sure you never made pasta before?
No.
It would actually take the place of some of the liquid.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So it's not a type of pasta that I make very frequently.
What about
but it would
basil then?
Basil, there's a couple things you could do. You could either puree some basil, and then that would be, again, you probably, if you're adding anything else, I would add it before adding the water, and then only add enough water to bring it together. So kind of assume that this other, ingredient that you're adding, if it's liquid at all, let's assume that it's going to take the place of some of the water, and then only add enough water to bring it together. Okay, so you can see everyone's kind of at a different place. Alex is
Am I
still
too thin here?
Yeah.
put a whole whack of flour in. You're almost there though.
Yeah.
Okay, you can even. I know not
Not
everybody.
about mass production.
No, that's okay.
This is an artisanal pacing of making this.
It's all good, Alex. It's all good. You're not asking any questions that anyone else in my class hasn't asked. That's brand new. So, and actually, to qualify, Alex, I started my cooking school in 2011, and that was the year. Actually, I started in September of 2011, and that was your first year university.
It was.
Yeah. So you actually have not lived at home full time any time since I've been doing this. So that would make sense that you would be the least experienced
Yeah, it's true.
right?
Okay, is this
So are you?
Yeah, that's looking good.
You're kneading now, or do
Yeah, so, okay, so
I got
let's,
a lot of excess flour still.
here,
That,
Steph, can you zoom in on Mike? I want to show, just because I'm a little further ahead. So see how soft that is? That's going to absorb a lot of flour. So what you want to do now is you want
it's good
to
enough.
start kneading it, which is using the heel of your hand to press it in. Now, if it stops, open it up. See how wet it is in there? That'll just naturally pick that up. You can also use the bench scraper if you want, just to kind of keep moving it. So all you're doing is kneading and pressing and absorbing some of that flour. Okay, if you guys need a few more drops of water, we'll give it to you. I probably will not, because I'm making a softer dough.
Does it matter about like over kneading or anything like this?
No, and actually that's a really good question. A lot of people ask that question. So when you're making pastry, because of the shortening or the butter or the lard in it, you
Don't
can.
put the camera on me. It's a mess.
That's okay, but that's okay, because there's people at home that are making this. It probably looks exactly like yours, but we're going to show them that it is going to come together. Here, I'm going to come.
mine was looking like that 3 minutes ago.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to leave mine just for a second and come and help Alex.
Mom, what? Does it look like I need help?
You're doing fine. You're doing fine. It's fine. Here. Okay, so let's start with that. Can you believe that? Look at the difference in our height. Can you believe that he's my child? That's hilarious, eh?
I can believe it.
Okay, you got
I'm on
it?
I'm
Okay,
on
so
it.
see how moist it is in there? If you
If I pull it.
if you pull it and expose that moistness to that, it's going to pick it up. So,
Should I add any water to mine? It seems quite dry.
is it?
I mean, mine's perfect.
So, and you put in the 2 tablespoons?
I put in the 2 tablespoons.
You know what though? And actually I'm glad this came up because this is a really good point. If your hands are really dry, your hands will actually absorb liquid from here. So it could be that Laura's is, here I'm going to show it. So Laura's is the perfect consistency for the machine. Michael's is a little bit dry. So Michael, you need some hand cream.
Mine's really sticking to the
thing? I'm going to come and help you. Hang on.
I've been washing
So-
my hands excessively through this pandemic.
Yeah,
That's why they're so
actually,
dry.
you work in a hospital, so that makes sense. And you are washing your hands a lot.
Yeah, Mike's
so
a doctor,
okay, Mike's not a doctor. Did you guys see that I just added a couple of sprinkles? So if you're making this batch that the kids made, and you do need a little bit of water, I advise you not to add a lot. Okay, I put literally a few little sprinkles like that, and you can see it's come together now, right? Yeah. So you want to knead this till it's smooth. Okay. Mine is smooth. Laura's is smooth. I'm just going to go help Alex.
Alex's needs more flour.
Our remedial student at the end.
remedial.
Remedial.
Go over your water a bit.
I think ambitious.
Ambitious? No, I would agree. Okay, so you know what? Probably when you put the water in, maybe?
Yeah, I think he added too
You
much.
had a little
by
bit added
accident.
too much. That's okay.
Oh, I did.
It's
That's
very
right.
forgiving. So actually, let's address that. It's very forgiving. If it's too wet, add more flour. If it's too dry, add a few drops of water. It's very, very forgiving. Okay. I mean, you want to be careful. You don't go back and forth and do that too many times because then you're diluting the amount of eggs that are in this because it is an egg noodle pasta, right? But for the most part, it's very forgiving, and that's why it's a really great, easy pasta recipe to start with. Okay, so everybody's looking. Let me see.
I think I still need a little more.
Let's compare it to your sister's.
Oh. See if yours is up to my
So a little bit,
standard.
just a little bit.
Come on, Michael.
But you know what we're gonna do? Actually, you know what we're gonna do? Because you guys are gonna be rolling yours through the machine. And this is, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and do that. And then what I want Alex and Laura to do is I want you to cut your ball cut it in 3 pieces, 3 equal pieces. Yeah. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys mix them. So that way if one's a little more dry and one's a little bit more wet, mine's going to be totally separate though, because I'm going to be rolling that out by hand.
How's my kneading technique looking these days?
Pretty good. Well, you got the right hands for it. You got those huge hands. You want to use your heel, the heel.
And then I fold it back up.
The heel of my
Heel and then fold it. Yeah, she's right. And then even turn it.
Yeah.
It's hard because you guys have such a small piece of dough. Here, do you want to do it on my big one?
That's okay. I've got it.
Yeah, there you go. You got such big hands
Yeah,
though.
so what I do.
Okay,
is I
so
fold
Mike, you can start.
and I grab it from underneath.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you saw with the heel. So you're stretching,
Yeah.
folding, turning, stretching,
Stretch it out,
folding,
then
turning.
reach under and grab it.
Yeah. Okay, can you cut yours in 3? Mike's going to cut his in 3. So when we're in class and everybody's got their own ball, this is what we do. What we do is we want to try and get them all to a similar consistency. Alex, you can join in too. You can do that as well.
So you want to?
Yeah, because we're gonna make them more equal now.
Ball.
So everybody's gonna take a piece of the other two and mix them together. So that question you had about making sure
Oh no!
everybody's gonna get
I'm
some
so
of
sorry,
everything.
everyone.
But it's gonna taste fine because it's all the same ingredients, right? Okay, so here you go. So one.
Bum of Laura's for a bum of mine.
There you go.
Sorry,
That's
so
one of
3
mine.
pieces, sorry?
Yeah, 3 pieces. So you're gonna give each your brother and your sister.
Oh, yours is so wet.
But that's okay. When you mix it now, it's gonna be perfect consistency. Okay, once you have it rolled out, let's put it here under the bowl because we're gonna let it rest for a bit. Mine's actually been resting a little longer than yours just while it's sitting here. So I'm gonna start with this one.
thing too? Oh no.
Don't worry if it's not perfectly smooth when you brought the 3 together. Just bring it together as best as you can. Like it doesn't have to be a perfect circle.
has to
Pop
be
it here.
perfect.
So you can either put it in a plastic bag or you can cover it with a bowl to let it rest. And the reason we're letting it rest is the gluten gets worked while we're kneading the dough, and the gluten just needs to rest. Now, and actually that's one of the reasons why at this point this is not sticky at all. It's perfect actually. Now all 3 of them, right, should be all very similar. Yeah, they are. If they were sticky here, after they rest, they would be even stickier. So, what did you do?
Good job, Alex.
Yeah. Okay. So while theirs is resting there, Laura, I want you to set up the pasta machine right here. Okay? You can set that up, and then the rest of you can kind of tune in here. Just rested for a few minutes. You want to let it rest about 20 minutes, but just for sake of time, I'm going to get into this. So, okay, so we got a nice soft dough here. Okay. And we're just getting rid of the water. Okay, so then a little bit of our all-purpose flour. Okay, and we're gonna get some flour on that, okay? And then that's gonna get rid of that stickiness. There's a tiny bit of stickiness. So if I had it this soft for the pasta machine, it would not work. It wouldn't cut very well. It's just too soft. But for by hand, it's gonna work perfectly. And that's what I wanna show you. So you wanna get a rolling pin after you've got some flour on it, and keep some flour close by, because as you're rolling it out, you might need to add some more, okay? So all I'm doing is I'm looking for a nice, and this obviously does not need to be a perfect piece because we're gonna be cutting it into noodles, okay? So this, you are gonna need a little bit of elbow grease for this part. And especially if you don't want to invest in a pasta machine, maybe you could combine making your pasta with your daily workout, because this is a little bit of a workout, but it's all good. It'll be worth a while. So Laura's got that set up. Laura, can you put the cutter on there too, because you guys are going to make fettuccine? And then maybe, do you mind taking away the stuff that we don't need, just so we have a little bit more room? And then we'll dust some flour on our cookie sheet. Maybe Mike, you could do that. Dust some flour on the cookie sheet to get it ready for the finished noodles.
What can Alex do?
Alex,
I didn't prove my worth earlier.
just tidy up. Just move, if you could move all these over, that would be great, just to give us some room.
I'm the bus boy.
Oh, actually, you know what I'll need? I'll need this cutting board to cut these noodles, because I don't want to cut right on the table. So you can bring me the cutting board when you're done. Oh, the cutter? You know how to do it? It slides on. Okay, so you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. And what I would suggest is you make all your strips. So continue cutting your piece. Here's my dough. So this one here, I think I cut off one. I could probably get about 3 or 4 more strips like this out of this. Okay, I would cut all your strips, get them all rolled out to your desired thickness. I like to have a little bit of bite in my noodles. So, I don't know, how thick would you describe that? I'm not great with metric. Would you say?
That?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Like a milliliter?
Millimeter?
Or sorry, a milliliter. Do you know a funny story? Anybody who was born in the 60s like me will laugh.
2 or 3 millimeters.
2 or 3 millimeters? Okay. Anyways, I have to tell my story now. So I think I was in like grade 2 or 3. Halfway through the year, they switched us from imperial measurements to metric, and I've never been the same since, okay? So, yeah, there's some things that I'm imperial and some that are metric, and clearly measuring is not one of the measurements that I'm metric. So, okay. So anyways, the point is when you roll out all your sheets, you want them all the same thickness. Okay. So I would do that. You could let them dry a little bit, but make sure they have got flour on both sides. Okay. So, and that is the best way to do that. Now, of course, if you wanted to make lasagna out of this is the same pasta recipe I use for lasagna. That would be a sheet. So you would just roll out, you wouldn't cut it into noodles. I'm going to show you how to cut it into noodles, but you would parboil this now after it rests. So you would let it sit with the flour on it, let it dry for, depending on how dry your house is, it could be anywhere from a half hour to an hour. And before you let it dry, you could even cut it into smaller sizes, maybe cut it in half. Then you would parboil it. So almost fully cook it, but do not fully cook it. And then you would layer your layers of pasta, just as you normally do with your lasagna. You'll have a beautiful lasagna with homemade pasta, which is amazing. So, okay, but if you do want to make noodles, there's a couple things you could do. You could use this type of a cutter, and you could do them sideways, and you could make them all, you know, some longer, some shorter. You could do the same with a pizza wheel if you like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I actually didn't grab a chef's knife. Can you grab me a chef knife, Mike, in the knife holder there? I could use the roller, but I think I'm going to show you. So first you want to cut it in half. You can just use a knife. And then what you want to do is you want to carefully roll it. And because there's flour on this, you want to make sure there's lots of flour on it. Okay, so it doesn't stick together. Thanks, Mike. Now all of a sudden you can do your noodles. So you can make them as wide or as thin. So if you want to do fettuccine, they're going to be a little narrower. If you want to do pappardelle, they're a little bit thicker. Okay. And now this is why you need the flour on them. So there we go. Look at that, eh? So we've got pasta. Mike, I'm going to, after I undo these, I'm going to ask you to toss a little bit of flour and make a little nest with those on the cookie sheet, and I'll cut the last one, and then we'll show you, for those of you that have a machine or are interested in how it goes through the machine, we're going to do that next. So Mike, you got that for me? Laura, do you want to do this one? Sure. And I'll get the stuff going there. So that's just a way easier of making them consistent than taking the knife and cutting them into actual strips. You want them about the same thickness as what the ones were for Michael?
Does it actually have to be a nest or just a little pile?
No, that's fine. Yeah, and you can put it on the cookie sheet where we're going to let it dry. So after we form the noodles, we want to cover them with flour. Actually, too tight. Can you make them a little looser? We don't want them to stick. Okay, and then same thing there, Laura. So then there we go. So we got our 2 handmade piles. So, and you know what? They're going to look so rustic and homemade, which is really nice. Kind of like these here. Look how rustic and homemade they look. Yours are a little bit thicker than mine, but that's okay. You can do them as thick or thin as you like. Okay? In the meantime, while Laura's doing that, Michael, here's your ball of dough. I've got Laura's, and Alex, you too. I want you to cut your ball of dough in half. Here, you can use that. Mike, you can just use that bench cutter. And I want you to start to make it into a little patty.
I'm not sure if you're supposed to use a wheel.
You can use the wheel, it doesn't matter. You just want to cut it in half.
Okay, make it a little.
Okay, so get a little, can you pass the flour, please? Here, Laura, you can do yours. Here, right here. Alex, if you need a little bit of flour. So here, it's very important when you're using a pasta machine, manual or the one on your KitchenAid, that you have enough flour, because you don't want this to stick in the machine, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to help out the machine. So we want to get this as thin as we can and nice flour on it so it's not sticky. Okay, and then what we're going to do is, so if you're doing this at home and you've got a couple of kids in the kitchen or your spouse or whatever, the easiest thing to do, and this is how I do it in a class, and sometimes I have 8 or 10 people in a class with only, you know, say 3 machines, you want to start on the number that gives you the widest setting, okay? They're different. Some machines, that'll be number 1. On some machines, that'll be number 8, okay? This is the exact machine that I sell on my website, and I can't see that number, Alex. Is it an 8? Okay, so I have different machines, but this one, so the number 8 is the thickest one on this, okay? So what we're going to do now, Steph, do you want to come around and actually zoom in on this? So I'm not really pulling it, I'm just kind of assisting it as it goes through. The first time through, so you guys are going to do that. Steph, I want you to zoom in on me. first time through, all our objective is to get this as rectangular shape as possible. So oftentimes the ends are skinnier. So what we're going to do is fold those in, and then we're going to run it through the machine again on the same setting just to make it more of a rectangle. So we have more square type noodles. Okay? So Michael, do you want to hop around there maybe? And
Sure.
Oh gosh.
Center it.
Oh,
Oh, you can make it centered.
how's that?
I love this. Teamwork, cooperation.
Oh.
So there's another good
Yeah.
thing if you're doing this with your kids. It's a
Oh
great
my gosh.
way. Actually, we used to do a lot of team building.
There.
So, and for this exact reason,
then I
pasta's
make it-
great.
Yep,
You want to
now
get your
fold it
kids
so
to
it's kinda
get
like this, and
along.
then flatten them. Because we want it to be a rectangle. Yeah, just
Okay.
Michael.
And then
Yeah, go ahead. So,
Mine's a little odd shape.
Oh yeah, baby.
You know,
Okay,
it's
so-
not
Facebook poll, who did it best? I don't know.
oh, I don't know.
that
For the new guy, that's looking
That
pretty
looks
good.
pretty rustic.
Looks
to
pretty rustic.
me.
It is. Rustic. It is. This is not the hand cut stuff though. This is the machine stuff, so it shouldn't look rustic. Sorry.
So, Mom, is this
No.
still on number 8 here?
Still number 8 because when we fold it in the ends, it's still kind of thicker. Okay.
Right, okay.
So now, once we all get it through
Oh,
there,
look at the shape.
looks good.
Oh, mine's better.
Of course it is.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Now,
God.
if it feels sticky at all, you want to dust it with some flour. Okay. Go ahead, Alex. Okay. And so basically everyone should be a little bit more rectangular like. If you need to do that again, you could leave it at the same number and put it through. But do you want to do that, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay,
Fold
go
it
through
again.
quickly because we want to keep an eye on the time.
Can I fold it again?
No, now that, oh Laura, I need to be perfect, eh? Okay, there, okay, we're gonna run along now because we're holding everybody up.
Oh, perfect.
So then now we advance the number to the next setting, and that's going to put the rollers just slightly closer. So now it's going to get longer and thinner. So everybody go through and put that in. And then Laura, I'm going to have you go grab the other pasta machine. Okay, so you're going to continue doing this. Now, depending on how thick you want your pasta, that's how many times you'll put it through into which setting, okay? I personally like my fettuccine, which is what we're making, a little bit on the thick side. I like to have a nice mouthfeel. So I go down to the second last setting on my pasta machine. And like I said, they're all different. The stand mixer attachment actually has a lot more settings than even the manual one does. So the second last one on the electric one is quite a bit thinner. So I would suggest the first time you do it, just kind of, check it out and just use your instinct the first time, and you can always adjust it the next time. So this is the second last setting for me. It's a nice thickness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dust it with flour before I put it through the cutter. Both sides. And it's especially important to have it well floured before it goes through the cutter so it doesn't stick. If it sticks when it goes through the cutter on the machine, it'll just make a mess, okay? Oh, and actually, oh dear, this has been on the wrong side the whole time. This actually flips on this side. You can actually put two in. And the reason is we need the hole for the little handle to go in there, okay? So these standard machines come with the rollers, the fettuccine cutter, and the linguine cutter, okay? So the fettuccine cutter is the wider one. Now that we have our piece, you need to decide on how long you want your noodles, okay? Typically, I'll cut anything that's a little longer than a regular pasta box. So if I had a box of spaghetti, it's about that long. This is going to be considerably longer, so I might want to cut that in half. That's a personal choice. This is going to be a little bit longer, so just for the sake of time, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to leave it. But you can do those as you wish. Now, again, if you wanted to make lasagna, this pasta, this is exactly, sorry, it's really, I'll finish talking. It's, yeah, the thickness for the lasagna is, again, a personal preference. Some people like it thick, some people like it thin. I prefer thinner sheets than thicker sheets for my lasagna, so that's a personal choice. That is squeaky. Okay, so there are our wonderful fettuccine noodles, okay? Doesn't it look awesome? So there we go, but I mean, the rustic hand-cut ones look great too. I don't want the people at home that don't have a machine that are going to do this feel like it's going to be any different. But they're just, like I said, they're just a little bit more rustic. And just while we finish up here, I want to tell you how you can freeze these, or next steps for cooking, okay? So you are going to let these air dry now. I usually put them on a cookie sheet like this for, like I said, anywhere from, you know, a half hour to an hour or even longer. Be careful, there's eggs in here, so you don't leave them out more than, say, 2 hours, okay? Because there's eggs in there. All right, and then once they're dried, you're going to drop them into a large pot of boiling water that's seasoned well with salt. Now, I can't tell you the exact time it will take to cook because it will depend how dry they are. Basically, taste is your best tool, okay? Just taste a piece, and when it's cooked, it should have a little bit of a bite to it. It should be al dente as opposed to mushy or soft, okay? But I do want to share quickly that you can freeze this. It freezes really well, and this is exactly how I would do it. I'd put it on a cookie sheet, dusted with flour. I would flash freeze it uncovered, just like that, in the freezer for about a half hour. And then it'll be solid enough that you can pick it up, put it in a freezer bag, get all the air out. And then what I like to do, rather than put the freezer bag right back in the freezer and risk having them break if something gets put on top, I'll stack the freezer bags in a shoebox or a Tupperware container, and I'll put them safely away in the freezer, and they can last in there for up to a month, especially if it's a deep freezer. But the most important tip I'll give you if you do freeze it is to boil it from frozen. If you let it thaw, what'll happen is the ice crystals will mix with this flour and it'll just make it sticky, okay? So it cooks very quickly in a couple of minutes, so if it cooks from frozen, it might add 30 seconds, okay? So that is our pasta class with my kids, and so great job, guys. You did an awesome job. Thanks so much. If you're interested in the pasta machine, nataliinaskitchen.com. And last but not least, if you'd like to get your hands on one of my cookbooks, which a lot of my clients are telling me is coming in very handy during this time, because it's all staple, standard pantry items that we use in our classic Italian cookbook. You can order that online, and I'm going to be shipping 1 day a week on Fridays. If I can help you out with some great, simple family recipes, please do that. Thank you so much for joining us, okay? This helps me too, because it puts me back into a space that's a big part of my life that I haven't been able to do the last couple of weeks, okay? So enjoy, and thank you. Thanks, guys.